Today, we're gonna grade every single LEGO Fortnite villager and determine who is the best and who is the worst. Now, first things first, we do have some unreleased LEGO Fortnite villagers that should be coming into the game relatively soon. I found this on the Fortnite WikiLeaks page. I'm not entirely sure if these have been confirmed that we'll be releasing in the game. However, they do make sense as far as these first three do look like the Dark Forest biome that's coming in October with the Halloween update. Then you have the Red Rex version, which does look like they could come during the Klombo update. And finally is the Ono skin, or the Oni skin. He looks like he would fit in perfectly with the Fallout type of update that we're getting on Friday. And just because we can't change their jobs, I'm going to keep the Star Wars players in that bottom tier. You guys can also do this down in the description below. I dropped the link. I would love to see what villager rankings you guys give, as you guys could post them all inside of my Discord server, or comment down below what you think of my ratings. Now, by far the easiest one to do is to fill out that S tier. Typically, I would have put Yeti inside of here, but ever since the most recent nerf on your villagers, I'm not going to throw him into S tier anymore. The only two that I believe should hold that spot is going to be your Polar Peely and then your Frozen Fish Sticks, or Frozen Peely and Polar Fish Sticks, whichever way they actually called those two players. They're very difficult to get, as you do need to find them in the Frostlands biome. You have to get extremely lucky or do the villager glitch. So because of their rarity, I have to throw them in S tier, as they're not only the hardest to get, but they're the most rare to find in the game as well. Now, I'm going to backtrack per update. So immediately off the bat, I want to grab every single skin that came ahead with the farming update that we had. That's going to include people like Cadence, Ash, Brooks, and Guernsey, as I'm going to throw them into the C tier. Now, the reason why I'm going to place these players into this tier right here is simply because they are decent players inside of the game, and they do make sure that your animals do not die, leave, or do anything like that. And animals are very valuable inside of this game, as they produce extremely fast. However, outside of that, I don't think these villagers have any special abilities outside of taking care of your animals. So I'm going to throw all of them into C, and just because Guernsey is a really cool one, I'm going to throw him into that B tier. Now, prior to that, we had the Mechanical Mayhem update, and that is kind of the same exact thing when it comes to me. You had players like Outcast, Oscar, Jules, Comet, and Lynx release into the game. Something that I noticed very early on, especially when it came to Lynx, she doesn't do anything in this game, works extremely slow, and just because I have personal beef with her for taking forever to give me anything from the compost bin, I have to throw her into that D tier. But I'm going to do the exact same thing here with this update as I did the previous one, and I'm going to throw all of these players into this C tier here, with Oscar getting an honorary B tier area because, again, his skin does just look pretty cool, and that's really the only thing that I like about this update with these players. Outside of that, it doesn't look like they actually work on the Mechanical Mayhem stuff faster than anybody else. The compost job does take a long time in general, but that doesn't seem to do very much for us at all. I actually want to put pretty much every single one of the three players that we got into this D tier. That's going to consist of Outcast, it's going to consist of Bob, and then it is also going to have our guy Turk. Now, the reason why I'm throwing these players into the D tier is because at the time, the update was really nice when it came to them giving us items for the food processor. They did help out a ton. However, that update fell off extremely quickly, as fishing is almost obsolete at this point and you don't need to do it. And also, they give you 30 fish food, and that doesn't take long for you to get at all on your own. So I find that the expertise in the fishing job just isn't all that great. Now, I want to fill in this A tier spot, as I find it really important to go ahead and fill that spot up with players that actually do very well on specific jobs. What that's going to do is consist of players such as Beef Boss, and Tomato Head, as they do an incredible job when it comes to cooking on this game. You also have players like Salty, who does extremely well when it comes to cooking as well. So having these 3 players on the cook food job does very, very well for your village area, which is incredibly nice. I would also like to go ahead and take my guy Yeti and put him into this A tier spot. I know that there was a nerf on the villagers where he doesn't perform as well when it comes to fighting inside of the game. However, he still is an awesome villager to take with you to go and fight with, although he doesn't do the most damage anymore or tank as much health as he possibly could. He still is a very good villager to have in that spot. Now, D tier is also extremely easy to fill in as well. You're going to have players like Bright Bomber, who is very common and came into the game immediately when you spawned in. You're also going to have Cuddle Team Leader inside of that spot, as she is very common in this game and almost annoying to see at your base. And as far as other players, which are very annoying to see, you're going to have somebody like Dana, who is by far the worst player inside of this game, Mozzie, who is considered very rare to start off, and then you also have this player here who shows up every few minutes at your base and takes up that spot when you just want to have a new villager come hang out and actually use at your village. Now, I also want to take some of these farming players as well, as farming isn't necessarily something that you need done inside of this game. So we're going to have Hayseed and Sunbarrel, or Sunbarrel, Sunflower, whatever the name is that goes with this character. I'm going to throw them into the D tier as well, because again, stuff that has to do with growing seeds and different things like that, that job isn't the greatest thing in the entire game. So I want to keep them as low as I can inside of that D tier. That way, we don't have to really worry about them. They're not somebody you really want to have at your base. Now, just for this honorary skin area of the game, I want to go ahead and put Fish Sticks into that B tier, as again, one of my favorite skins in the entire game. I want to grab both of the T-Rex skins, throw them into that spot, as well as Peely into this spot up here, and keep them inside of that area. Skins alone, they're very cool, but they also do a decent job in this game while working on certain jobs, which is extremely nice to have inside of the game. Now, you also have some pretty rare characters in this game, which aren't the greatest to have, but are pretty rare to find. I'm going to go ahead and take Bush Ranger and throw them into B tier, as they are pretty difficult to find. You can get them inside of the grasslands area. However, somebody like myself has never found Bush Ranger inside of my area at all. You also have somebody like Blue Squire. Personally, I had him, not the greatest of fighters or anything like that in this game at all. And then you have somebody like Rustler, who's actually a pretty good fighting companion to throw into that B tier spot. So far, I think that we're looking really good, but I want you guys to comment down exactly how you feel about my tier list so far. Now, I'm also going to kind of do something bold here, which people may not agree with. However, I am going to take the Shore Biome players like Blackheart and throw them into the A tier, as once again, they are still pretty rare to get inside of this game. And I also want to grab players such as Snowcap and then also Slushy or Slush and throw them into that A tier as well. These are characters that are relatively new to find in the game, or are hard to find in the game, as they are very specific to either the Shore Biome or the Frostlands biome, as they fit perfectly in those areas. So because of that, I want to keep them inside of that A tier, just because again, they're a little bit rarer and harder to find, but I also believe they do better on different jobs as well. Now, I'm going to fire off some more very common players and throw them into the D tier. So players like Aura definitely deserve to be here. You also have Lion Brand, who isn't very great as well. Meowskulls is very common inside of this game, and I don't believe is all that great either. Then you're going to have players like Otis. Then you are going to have somebody else like Silas and then Robin on this game, who are very, very common to have inside of here. And the common players, in my opinion, are just not somebody that I want to have inside of anywhere else but this D tier. So I also want to grab Petra and throw her inside of here, and then also Flint inside of this area, as once again, these very common players don't deserve to be anywhere but the very bottom tier in here. So while we're there, we might as well throw somebody like Nugget inside of this spot, and then maybe even players such as Raptor. You could go ahead and grab somebody like this and throw her inside of here, as she is very common inside of your areas, and just keep this D tier as either very poor workers or very common players inside of your world. Now I want to take the other Star Wars players and I'm going to throw them into this C tier as well. I know that you have the very specific Star Wars area at the bottom, but those players are specific to the Star Wars village. However, these ones can be brought to other villages if you find them. So the 4 Star Wars players are definitely pretty cool to go out and try to find. I'll throw them into C tier because I haven't personally found them to do much, but they are relatively rare on the game. So I wouldn't put them very high on this list, but I wouldn't put them too low on the list, as again, we don't know too much about them other than the fact that they're relatively rare inside of the game. So to wrap this bad boy up, I'm going to throw Sky into this A tier just because of her sacrifices when it came to the Star Wars collab. She went ahead and was out there really fighting for every single one of us, so she absolutely deserves to be up there. Sparkplug isn't the rarest of villagers to come into this game, but they're also not the most common in my opinion, so I'm going to go ahead and throw Sparkplug into this C tier area as well. Then we're going to have a player like Crystal, who personally I haven't seen too much inside of my game. So just because of how rare she is, I'm going to throw her into that B tier, as well as Calamity in that B tier as well. And as for the final 3 players that we have onto our list right this second, I believe that these are very common players as well that should not be put too high up on this list. So you have somebody like Sprocket, who should be a D tier, as they aren't very rare in this game whatsoever. But I think players such as Sawyer, and then finally our last one with Sally Sales, are still somewhat rare in the game. They're not the most common of players, but I don't think that they're the rarest of players available. So I believe that right at this very point in time, that this tier list would be my official tier list, from the best villagers to have all the way down to the worst or the most common villagers that you can have. I would love to know what you guys do with this tier list maker. I created this earlier today. I would love to see how you guys rank every single one of these. So check it out down in the description below, and then comment down below what changes you guys would make to my tier list at the end of this video. But I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, guys, this was Crafty. I'm out. Peace.